Around 20 kilometers from Helsinki lies the small town of Espoo, Finland. It lies near the serene Lake Bodom, a place unassuming in its tranquil beauty, and that's where I'm heading to right now. However, in 1960, a triple homicide tainted the lake's legacy forever. 4 teenagers, made up of 2 couples, set up tents on the shore of Lake Bodom in the early evening of June the 5th, 1960. They included Irmeli Björklund, Tuulikki Mäki, Seppo Boisman, and Nils Gustafsson. Both boys were 18 and both females were 15 years old. At 10:30 p.m., both couples retired to bed. What happened between then and the next morning is still a mystery, but around 11 a.m. on June the 6th, a man who had been swimming in Lake Bodom made a gruesome discovery. He stumbled upon what appeared to be 4 dead bodies. Someone had attacked the teenagers through the fabric of their tent, leaving 3 dead and 1 barely conscious. All possessed multiple bruises and stab wounds, including the still alive Nils Gustafsson, discovered lying on top of the tent with his girlfriend Björklund. Both Mäki and Boisman lay dead inside. The tent appeared torn to shreds, and several items belonging to the group, notably clothes and money, appeared stolen. Police discovered the attack on the group occurred sometime between the hours of 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., most likely with both a knife and a blunt object. However, they couldn't determine what murder weapon fatally wounded the 3 victims. In fact, the police never found a murder weapon. Some clothing belonging to the group was found covered in blood around 500 meters away from the murder site, and stranger still was that the killer had stolen the keys to Boisman's motorcycle, but hadn't stolen the vehicle itself. The police called on the military to help search the areas for missing items, although very little was discovered. Authorities were also careless with their treatment of the murder site, inadvertently allowing it to be trampled by the press and concerned citizens. It was believed that this may have disturbed some of the evidence. An autopsy on Irmeli Björklund found that she suffered the most stab wounds and hacked at post-mortem. By comparison, the other victims had been slain with significantly less brutality. Police recognized many suspects as possibly responsible for the Lake Bodom murders, including the surviving victim Nils Gustafsson. Gustafsson's limited account of the night is due to his claim of being attacked first. He told police he became disorientated and believed the killer, whoever it is, thought Gustafsson to be dead while he attacked the rest of the group. He claimed that he saw the killer dressed in black and bright red just before he attacked the group. More eerily is that multiple people have confessed to being the Lake Bodom murderer. However, all of who have confessed have been proven to have been elsewhere on the night it occurred. The first suspect, a violent criminal named Pentti Soinen, claimed responsibility for the murders to a fellow inmate in his prison in the mid-1960s. Soinen indeed lived near the murder site. However, He would have been 14 years old at the time. It is improbable one 14-year-old could overpower four similarly aged persons, let alone do it and leave no trace evidence behind. In a strange conclusion, Pentti Soininen hanged himself on June the 6th, 1969, the day of the 9th anniversary of the murders. Karl Waldemar Gyllström was the police's most viable suspect. According to reports, Gyllström confessed to the murders to his neighbor while intoxicated, although he later denied doing so. Gyllström, a spiteful man, carried an intense hatred of children and campers. Several days after the murders, Gyllström was seen pouring concrete into a well in his back garden, which some believed may have been him disposing of murder weapons or items belonging to the victims. Gyllström's wife provided his alibi for the night of the murders, claiming that Gyllström was in bed all night. However, this statement became later retracted, asserting that her husband threatened to kill her if she implicated him on the murders. Some locals also said they saw Gyllström returning home in the early hours of the morning on June the 6th. But due to Gyllström's violent nature, they were too afraid to call the police. Gyllström's possible involvement in the case soon ended, as similar to Pentti Soininen, Gyllström also committed suicide in 1969. In a particularly haunting exchange, Gyllström told a friend of his, Börje, that he killed the teens, but Börje didn't believe him. When Gyllström asked what he should do if he were responsible, Börje said, "You should drown yourself, because you'll be spending the rest of your life in prison." A few hours later, Gyllström returned to Lake Bodom, where he committed suicide by drowning himself. Assmann, a reported KGB spy, became a notable suspect in the Lake Bodom massacre. On June the 6th, 1960, Assmann arrived at the Helsinki Surgical Hospital in an extremely delirious state. His clothes appeared blotted with red stains. He spoke incoherently and his fingernails appeared dirty black. At points, Assmann pretended to be unconscious as a way to manipulate the doctors into seeing him quicker than the other patients. When this didn't work, Assmann became hostile towards staff and patients and subsequently told to leave. Interestingly, on the morning of the Lake Bodom murders, two children claimed to have seen a blonde man fleeing the crime scene around the time the murders occurred. Assmann, it turns out, had long blonde hair at the time of the Lake Bodom killings. When this information became public knowledge, Assmann reportedly shaved her completely bald. Additionally, the clothing that Assmann wore when he entered the hospital that morning matched the children's description. Assmann lived in the Lake Bodom area, and his behavior around the time of the murders was cause for suspicion. Many detectives believed Assmann to be involved in the killing somehow, even if he wasn't directly responsible. Furthermore, Assmann had been a murder suspect in the past. Second, only to the Lake Bodom murders, the case of Auli Kyllikkisaari is one of the most famous cases in Finnish history. It involves the murder of a 17-year-old Finnish girl in 1953 of which Assmann became a major suspect. The police also linked him to at least 3 other unsolved cases. After the incident, Nils Gustafsson lived a normal life for over 40 years. He married, had 2 children, and retired from working life. However, in 2004, Finnish police reopened the case based on the discovery of new DNA evidence. The police found blood samples from each of the victims on Gustafsson's shoes. They also ascertained that the killer, whoever it might have been, was wearing Gustafsson's shoes either during or after the murders. The theory which police put forward was that Gustafsson erupted in a jealous rage over an incident with his new girlfriend Irmeli Björklund. There are no specific details about why Gustafsson would explode in such a manner. Still, a re-examination of the case was authorized based on the new evidence and possible motive. To explain why Gustafsson also suffered multiple wounds, police proposed that Gustafsson stabbed and bruised himself to appear as though another perpetrator was responsible. Gustafsson's girlfriend Björklund suffered the most stab wounds, which suggest a personal vendetta, but it is unlikely that Gustafsson would be driven to such extremes by mere teenage jealousy. In October 2005, the court acquitted Gustafsson of all charges, thus rendering the identity of the real killer a mystery. Another mysterious element to the Lake Bodom murders comes from a peculiar funeral photograph. During his initial questioning, Nils Gustafsson was put under hypnosis and asked to retrace the events in as much detail as possible. Having recalled what his alleged attacker looked like, he dictated the description to an artist who created a composite sketch of the man. Later, during one of the Bodom victims' funeral, someone took a picture that showed a man greatly resembling the composite. The identity of this mysterious man remains unknown. Some believe the strange figure was Assmann, but other sources stated that Assmann didn't attend the funeral at all.